Hi, hello. It's nice to
Hi.
see you. It's
Definitely. Nice to see you too.
it's been like what, a year?
Yeah. How's it
Yeah.
going? You look great.
When
Have
was
you like
that?
are you Benjamin Buttoning over here?
What does that mean?
You look younger than the last time I saw you.
Oh, that's good. Thanks for saying that. I think that's a camera thing, maybe. It might just be a
Maybe
camera
it's
trick.
coronavirus. You're
Maybe
stay,
it's making me
staying
young.
at home and well rested.
I do live on the ocean now, where I lived like
Okay.
mid-city before. So maybe living on the ocean, living near the
Yeah.
water,
You
I
get
don't
a
know.
tan?
But I'm not as mentally healthy as I was. So maybe I'm more
Oh
physically
no.
healthy, but I'm mentally unstable now,
Oh
definitely.
no.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
going around. That's,
Yeah, and you have a very festive background. I love your little
thank you.
tchotchkes that you've got going on, and
Yeah, this is a little meditation corner.
totally. And I have like a barracks and you have a meditation corner, basically.
I mean, to each their own. Maybe this is part of your mental well-being. Maybe you
This
needed a
is
couple plants.
this actual conversation with you is part of my mental well-being, believe it or not. You're contributing to my sort of life support in solitary confinement.
Great,
So thank
awesome.
you for
Yeah,
that.
congratulations on the podcast.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'd much rather be doing this with Eddie.
Yeah.
Not no offense to our
What are you trying to
podcast.
say?
No, I mean I'd rather be, you know what I mean. Don't corner me. I'd rather be, doing pep
In the
talks
studio.
with our pal.
Yeah.
Not in this. I wouldn't rather be in the studio. I just would rather be with him,
Mhm.
every week instead of this alone. But this is cool. Yeah. Have you watched any of these stupid podcasts?
I checked out a little bit, but my internet ever since
Oh, you don't have
Pico
to say
merged with
that. I
T-Mobile.
understand. It's
No,
all you can handle.
no. The thing is, you're not on like listening platforms, right? You're just on YouTube.
Not yet. We're just on YouTube. Yeah.
So you need to work on that, and we can have a conversation about it later because I've gone through the logistics of it, but I like wanted to listen to it. I always listen to podcasts like while I'm gardening or like while I do other things, and I was like, what is he doing on YouTube? Get out of here. Who has time to sit down and watch a podcast? I don't know, not me.
Well, Joe Rogan's people do, I guess. So what
But
we are
see,
going to
I
do that,
listen
and
to Joe Rogan
I
while I
will,
garden.
I will pick your brain when the time comes. We do have to get it on a listening platform, but I'm going to introduce you.
Okay,
I'm going to
sorry.
introduce you. I'm going to because we're just do a short intro, so I'm
Yeah,
just going to
I was like,
paraphrase
why
your.
would he put me in this place where I have to write an intro
I
in
know, 2 minutes
5 minutes?
before
I
the
don't know.
podcast. So this beautiful woman, and we're not going with Lamont. We're going with.
I've aged into my real name.
Okay,
And like just
so
fuck my family. If they get upset about what terrible things that I say, that's okay.
wait, Bracero is your real name,
Yeah, that's my actual name, Bracero.
and that's what we're gonna go
You,
with. But
yeah, or you can call me Lamont, whatever you want, Steve.
I'm calling you by your real name. I mean,
Okay.
you're the prince of the Central Valley. To me, you're the prince of the California Central Valley. You can change your name 100 times and you'll be a
Okay,
star.
great.
So my friend here, I would start by saying this is one of the people I've known, my newest friends to comedy.
Mhm.
Usually I have on people who I've known a long time because it's easier to just talk over old shit that we've been through. But
Mhm.
she and I met through Eddie Pepitone, who's probably the greatest living comedian. And
Absolutely.
where are you located? Tell me where you're located.
Like you said, the Central Valley. I live in a town called Riverbank.
Riverbank, the Central Valley. She is the Dave Chappelle of Riverbank, California. Um,
Easily.
She is basically someone who has no reservations about admitting of her failed experiments creatively.
Mhm.
I'm totally
Educationally,
paraphrasing here.
career-wise.
Improv, traveling. She is currently working on a book that
Yeah.
is going to attempt to bottle the feelings of our celebration the next time we're sent to our rooms by the universe.
my good feelings, because everybody else is like losing it in Corona times. And
Yeah.
like, I feel great. And I just wish I could put that in a bottle and like hand it out.
Well, you're welcome to come physically visit the Playa del Rey area and bring your great feelings to this community. I will take you around the neighborhood and walk and canvas on doors and introduce you to the very aloof people who live in this area. At any rate, please welcome No Idea Zone, the 25 old ladies who tune into our podcast. Please welcome the very beautiful and talented Yvette Bracero.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
That was such a funny dialogue of an intro. You're very welcome. Thanks for showing up on short notice also, I would say.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
So,
sorry I couldn't do yesterday. Yeah.
What are you up to beside your book? And walk us through your happiness, because you said you're doing well. You're actually in a good place. So I want you, please share that with these people. These are desperate people.
I don't want to rub it in.
No, you won't be rubbing it in. You'll be teaching and talking and telling.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I got sent to my room way before everybody else did, right? So way before coronavirus, I got sick, and I went from like going to like 5 open mics a week and like doing improv every week, and like I had a really sexy life, and then the universe was like, and now you're just sick. And it took time to adjust for sure, especially because I had so many things to figure out with my health. But because that happened so long ago, I had a year on everybody else. So by the time coronavirus came, I was like the queen of coronavirus, like day one. I was like, I know how to stay at home, socially distance, and live a very simple but happy life. So it's kind of dumb how happy I am. And it's been going for, I don't know, at least 8 months. So it feels like it's probably not a manic episode.
Well, you look great. So,
yeah.
I mean, you looked great before you got sick, because I actually met you before you got sick. And I don't want to dwell too much on that, but I do want people to know that you sort of had a miraculous, because we've communicated a few times, and I've just checked in on you and said, hey, how are you?
It took a while. For a while, I was like, I'm not good. I'm falling apart. But yeah, I've been doing a lot better.
What can you walk us through the Reader's Digest condensed version of what you went through and your process real quick?
Yeah. So my arch nemesis is mold. I lived in the wrong apartment for 3 months, and I've been paying for it ever since. And I had like a really rare reaction to it. Within a couple months, I was like losing time, and I couldn't move my hands, and I couldn't move my tongue, and like I was falling down, and I just couldn't even stay with a conversation. It was really scary. I became intolerant to a lot of food, and then ever since then, it's kind of been like, I'm getting better, oh, I'm falling apart again. I'm getting better, I'm falling apart again. And in the last year, I've really addressed that issue like very head on. And I've done a lot of different modalities, and I found a protocol that really works for me. And if I don't do it, then I fall apart immediately. But as long as I do it, I'm totally fine. So.
You had, I remember you had, because we talked a little bit, you had like some maladies, like you thought it was diet related, you had become a vegan, and then that was a contributing thing, right, in some way.
Bad.
And then you went off of that, but that didn't alleviate what was happening. And then you had to have, I mean, I don't want to go through it for everybody, but you went through some serious shit, Yvette.
Yeah.
And you look great. I'm so happy that you're good, that you're doing well.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel great. Is that horrible sound happening on your end or just mine?
No, I think just your end.
Okay,
Sorry
great.
about that. That could be my mic.
Glad I don't sound like a robot.
Is it like a reverberating sound?
Only every once in a while. It's gone now.
Okay.
So.
So, how's your dating life going?
It's
No
actually
segue
going really well. Yeah. So I just had to quit my podcast that was about dating, and coronavirus was amazing for my dating life, right? Because on Instagram every day I'm like, and this is what I'm cooking at my house. And everyone's trapped at their house and they're like, that looks good. So all of a sudden, everyone I had ever met who was single was like, hey, you want to have like a Facebook date? Like, you want to like hang out? So I became very popular overnight, instant success. And now I'm dating someone who I like a lot. So
But have you
exciting.
met this person in the flesh?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually am naughty and I break quarantine to hang out with him. So,
Good.
I mean, you got to pick and choose your dangers. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. Mental health is also important, and human contact is important. And you know, I think it's a big adult decision. You go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to see this person, and that's it.
yeah.
If
I
you
mean,
have
he's really wise about social distancing. So that's huge. If he wasn't, I wouldn't. Like, I haven't seen my best friend. I saw her like one time in June, but she like doesn't social distance at all. She's, so I'm like, I can't hang out with you because you're too much of a risk factor and I've got a little snowflake body. So I miss her
you could be
terribly.
considered a high risk. You could be considered a high risk person right now because of the
Yeah.
things you've been through.
Yeah.
So, so dating's good, and your dating podcast is over. You're not doing that anymore.
I'm not doing that anymore. We lost Santana, and I kind of tried to replace her a couple times, and it just never was the same again. And then I started writing my book, and I really lost interest in doing the podcast.
Do you have a loose title for your book yet?
I have several, but probably none that I want to share. I'm not settled on anything yet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Have you done any stand-up?
No, have you? How does anyone do stand up anymore?
I actually did do stand-up. I had a female comic, whose name will go unmentioned,
Okay.
who picked me up out here at the beach and drove me all the way to the east side of town, which for those of you who don't know LA, that's a fucking long way. And we did a comedy show by a fountain in a park.
Nice.
A comic, her name is Carol. I forget her last name. She's really sweet, and she ran it with a guy named Perry Kurtz, who's been around
Okay.
since like the dawn of the dinosaurs doing comedy. And they had an amp and a mic cord and a mic, and there were about 7 people picnicking out there to perform for. And I've got to tell you, it was better than the last time I had sex. That's how fucking great it was. It was the most incredible release.
Yeah. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Did you tape it?
Oh, fuck no. I don't want anyone to see that. No way. And Eddie tapes all his sets, do you tape all your sets?
At least like a voice recording. What if I say something funny that I forget? You don't do that?
No, I don't do that. No, I
You
don't
should do
want
that.
to. I don't want to watch the aborted genesis of what's. I can kind of keep a little bit of a. Once in a while I'll record, but mainly I just try to keep a kind of a mental note of the things that are working or not. But I don't know. Everybody has a different process, so it's painful for me to listen back or watch back what I just did.
That was part of the process.
Yeah. So tell us some of your favorite comedians, because I haven't seen you do stand-up.
Sorry about
But I
that.
have watched you watch other stand-ups. And one of the things about you, because we were at the store, Eddie did a store
Oh
signing,
yeah.
and you came, and I think it was when you were in town for the podcast. And
Uh-huh.
watching you watch comedians is a very entertaining thing. You may not know that. You get physically, your gestures and your mannerisms are like you are deeply emotionally connected. I can't, like you do shit with your hands.
I'm Latin.
Oh.
Can't help it. Yeah, I really enjoy watching stand-up for sure. It's funny that you saying that reminds me of the time that I saw Adam Sandler do stand-up, and the room was very dead, but I was like front and center, being myself, you know, laughing, like hitting my knee and like smiling, and he goes, well, at least I can still make the pretty girl laugh.
Did that get that made the people laugh a little bit when you said that?
A little bit. It's like, come on, loosen up, guys. You're there to have fun.
And they hated Adam Sandler, which is really a sign that that's a terrible crowd because he's a famous guy.
Yeah,
so,
he was really funny. He was working on his stuff for that special that came out, I don't know, like a year or two ago now. I had a great time. But I think some people just want to have a bad time.
Yes, they do. And it's bizarre that they show up to comedy shows. Who are your favorite? Give us a list.
Eddie is definitely one of my favorites. I watched his new special recently, and I went to the taping, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, you were at the taping? Okay.
Yeah, so that was great. I've got some books from the set, so that's super fun. Ego loves that. Let's see. And Chappelle is like obviously super up there as far as like comedians who are alive today. I love how he's willing to be dangerous, and he can have unpopular opinions on topics that are very hot, and he does it so well that people can't pick on him the way that they do other people. I love that. That's great about him. And then I really like a lot of people who are no longer with us, like George Carlin is great. Robin Williams, obviously amazing. I just started watching the Tracy Ullman show from like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From the late 80s.
Yeah, she's wild. I've never seen such a variety of characters come from a woman, so that's really cool and inspiring.
Well, the Simpsons came from the Tracy Ullman show.
That's why I started watching it, because my dad was like, you know, the Simpsons, and I was like, you've been saying this my whole life, and who the fuck is Tracy Ullman? So I put it on, and I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious. And like, she must be at least bisexual, because there's so much stuff about homosexuality, which I think for the late 80s is just like awesome. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like Tracy Ullman and the Kids in the Hall were very hot at the same time back then. Kids in the Hall were, on HBO. And was Tracy Ullman on HBO or was it Fox? It might have been Fox. Is there, I don't remember, is it raw? Is there foul language and everything in the Tracy Ullman show? Or is it?
I don't think so. So it probably was Fox.
It was really popular when I was like in junior high.
Tracy I liked her a lot. Yeah, I really recently started getting into that. She's wild. Such a firecracker of a lady. What about you? Who are some of your favorites?
Well, Eddie is obviously one of my favorites. I think that special that he just did is one of the top 10 specials I've ever seen. I got to be honest with you. People don't give the living comics. Totally. And, you know, it's unfortunate a lot of times, you know, Eddie would probably laugh if he heard this, but it's unfortunate a lot of times comics have to die or get massively famous or die, you know, and before someone goes, oh, that was one of the greatest of all time. But that was really, you know, Richard Pryor in Long Beach. I'll sit and watch Richard Pryor interviews.
Right. Richard Pryor is amazing.
There's something about him. And Dave, you know, Chappelle has it too, but there's something about Pryor it's effortless. I was just watching a bit of Richard Pryor talking about how he is sexually attracted to girls at the Comedy Store in the 80s. Now, obviously, it was really different time then, and you could talk about shit and people.
You were allowed to be attracted to people.
Yeah, you know, he's talking about his daughter bringing home her friends, and she's, you know, she's a teenager, and it's fucking hysterical, but it's also like you just get the feeling that this guy's a a guy you would want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so him, and then come to find out, you know, a lot of stuff about Richard. He was not such a nice guy in real life to a lot of people. So I guess it's
Oh,
all.
really? I didn't know that. Why did you tell me that? Stop it.
I don't want to dig too deep into that, but you don't have to look too far to. I think there are a lot of people who thought he was a great guy, and then there were some people who came on the wrong end of him, and then maybe didn't get the right. Anyway.
Well, I mean, that's true of everybody.
I guess it's true of everybody. But,
not everybody likes chocolate, and that's okay. Like,
some people are allergic to the point where they die. Dogs will die if you feed them chocolate. So.
And dogs are my favorite. So.
Right. So you are a big time. Let's talk about that. You are a huge. You save animals, right?
I mean, I guess in the last year I've kind of saved 3, but I didn't mean to. I don't go out like I'm gonna save animals, but
right, you're
stuff
not
happens, and
you're not.
I have friends who like do that professionally, you know.
Okay.
And I have helped them a little bit, but.
But you're not psychotic like the lady I live with in Koreatown who would go out and find cats in the neighborhood and bring them home, feral cats.
I'm not stealing other people's cats. So.
No, they weren't. They weren't other people's cats. I think they were like neighborhood feral cats. And she was mentally ill, and she thought she was going to save them. And they would get in the house, and they would cause fucking. The only reason it was so inexpensive to live there, I couldn't leave there, because it was so inexpensive to live there. But this lady gave new meaning to Crazy Cat Lady. The cat, we would come home and the screen would be pushed out and the cats would escape. And then she would go, and then she would go out in the neighborhood and find them again.
Oh God. How did she catch them?
I have no fucking idea. I was never with her for that.
She's like got like tuna in a box or something.
I prayed, and that's what I used to think. I would think there's no way she's going to find these cats. They're gone. And somehow she would bring back, maybe sometimes she would bring back other cats and think they were the cat that she had. Oh my God. Who knows? But crazy shit, man.
So I'm not there yet.
You're not there.
But we'll give it some time. Okay.
So anyway, my favorite comedians, Carlin. I love Bill Burr right now. I really love him.
Yeah, Bill Burr's great.
Mitch Hedberg was one of my favorite comedians.
I don't like Mitch Hedberg that much.
Really?
Unpopular opinion. I mean, he's funny, but like, I guess I just like things that are a little more like poignant and profound, like the stuff that Eddie does, you know?
Right,
and I really like, and it's not a joke about like eating 1,000 of rice. I don't know.
You know what? I think the truth is I have broad taste. You know, like my taste is broad. I like Hedberg. I love Steve Martin. I love silly comedy. I hate Adam Sandler. So see, we would disagree. I am repugnantly repelled by Adam Sandler.
He had one really good joke that I don't think even made his special for some reason, and it was about dating sites. And he was like, you know, now everyone's on their phones and everything is so digital. Back in my day, you used to just walk into a bar and say, "Who wants to fuck Billy Madison?" And I thought that was so funny.
Probably worked back in like '95.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So anyway, we all are different. I will say this for Adam Sandler, and all of the comedy that I think is stupid. The people who are fans of the comedy I think is stupid are usually the nicest people I've found, and the people who like the comedy that I like generally are not the nicest people. So,
I mean, being nice has its ups and its downs.
Well, I know this because I would sell my DVDs on the street in like 15 years ago, and one of my lines was, "Who's your favorite comedian?" It was just like an icebreaker, and a lot of people would say, well, not a lot of people, but occasionally someone would say Adam Sandler, and my response would be, well, I'm funnier than that motherfucker. Which didn't endear people, but I noticed the people who I was dealing with who would like Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, anything that I thought was dumb were like the kindest people, and I could never say that. I could never.
Need to kill that joke. You don't like Chris Farley or Will Ferrell?
No, I never have.
Like
really.
in movies and stuff? Because I've never seen their stand-up.
The movies. The
Okay.
movies. I mean, I don't think Farley and Farrell weren't stand-ups. They were sketch improv guys.
Farrell's supposed to be terrible at stand-up. What about even Lunch Lady Land? That's hilarious.
Who?
Chris Farley and Adam Sandler on SNL did this Lunch Lady Land skit, and Adam Sandler's singing a song about the lunch lady, and Chris Farley's doing like an interpretive dance dressed like the lunch lady. I don't know.
I never saw that.
It's a good one.
Chris Farley singing, doing the poem to the kid as Santa Claus. It was really, really funny down in the van down by the river. So there was funny shit, but like the movies were, I think that the beginning of the end for American comedy were when like the mid 90s, when all those SNL people started making movies, and Jim Carrey too, I put in there, no offense,
You don't like Jim Carrey?
Love Jim Carrey. I was a snob. That's what was happening.
You were a snob.
I was a snob, and I didn't want, it was all too predictable. I wanted to see, I was discovering Woody Allen movies, and I've been watching Eddie Murphy and Pryor and Steve Martin was silly, but the movies were bizarre and subversive, and you didn't always know what was coming. And the Jim Carrey, like Ace Ventura and all that, it started getting too predictable.
Yeah, I didn't love Ace Ventura, but I loved him on In Living Color.
Oh yeah, he was awesome on A Living Color. This is fun to talk to another comic and see what your taste was. When did you start doing stand-up?
I started doing stand-up in undergrad, and I actually got tricked into it. There was a stand-up comedy elective course, and I still remember like the course book said like from Mark Twain to present, we'll be examining comedic forms, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And then we get there, and it's like, here's the syllabus, and you're going to perform all the time. And I was like, wait, what? And I actually thought I was going to quit. And I almost did quit, and I was like, I'll just do the first one, and I'll see how that goes, and then I'll quit. And I did it, and I was hooked. It was just like immediately like, oh, I want more of this. And it went really well because I was just in a good phase of life. I don't know. I was very popular and effervescent, and opportunities just found me. Hey, can you do this show? Can you do this show? And in Santa Cruz, there's like no shows, and I was in all of them all of a sudden. And I wish I would have stuck with it then, but I was like, oh, that's just this fun, silly thing I do on the side.
You didn't understand. You didn't know that was like you were in a really cool scene. You had a really like loving, you had a great space to like create shit in there.
Totally, yeah. And it was very kumbaya up at UCSC and like super fun. And then I actually like would hone my sets because I was like the president of a sorority. So I would go to these like sorority and fraternity parties, and it's a lot like Mrs. Maisel, if you've seen that, where she doesn't like going to open mics, and then she starts like doing this at parties, and I would just be like in the center of this huge group of people, like, and they think, it's completely scripted at that point. This is before any improv training, so it was like word for word, beat for beat, all the pauses are pre-planned, and but they don't know that.
So you were producing comedy shows at frat and sorority parties, basically?
No, I was just doing bits and practicing my material.
In front of all the drunks, basically.
Yeah, basically. And then I got, from my class, I got invited to do a show at like a bar and restaurant, which is like the only place that they have comedy shows in Santa Cruz. And then from there, I got invited to go to a different college. And I just would do shows, little stupid local shows, but it was a lot of fun and I loved it. But I think my teacher is a big part of why I didn't get more into it. He was this small, like a little sort of catty homosexual man, and I think he was like I I've had as a general rule, you can put gays into two people.
Dude, you don't have to apologize. Just say it. It's okay. You don't have to qualify it.
Well, like he I think he was someone who really doesn't like women, especially like, you know, a little pretty straight girl. And it's like, I like kissing girls. Wait, but he just didn't.
Maybe he belongs. Like maybe he belonged in the theater.
Definitely, 100%. And he like was not funny. And he would compliment me because I would do well. But it was always like with this attitude that made me think like, well, whatever, dude, I'm just doing this for fun. But then in hindsight, I'm like, that little fucking Oompa Loompa, he was jealous of me.
Okay, let's go in on the gay dudes just for a minute since we're on the subject. When I was in college, I did not, there was my friends, my roommates were in the theater department. They were, very straight guys, very, very straight guys. Like
perfect
Joe Jeffrey and Chris McCann. I'll never forget this, okay? Alpha male type straight dudes, like 6'2", square jaw, you know.
Did they get lost? What were they doing in the theater?
Okay, this is great. I refused to do that. And I applied to the film school, which hustled me. They didn't accept me, but they allowed me to pay for their film classes, but not be an official major in the school. Really clever hustle. Like, oh, you can be on the periphery, but you know, we don't think you're good enough to be here. But anyway, that's another story. So my buddies though would go to the theater, and it was all these beta male gay dudes, but beta male type straight dudes. And they had these guys, my buddy Chris and my buddy Joe, they had them building the sets for their plays. That was how they were earning their credit hours. They had them fucking Paul Bunyan and John Henry back there, chopping wood and nailing shit.
Totally,
and they would come home and we'd all get high, and I would make fun of them. I'd be like, the queers have you guys building the fucking sets for their musicals.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, that's an important role.
My buddy Chris had a roommate who was gayer than fucking, he was a Jewish gay guy, definitely a trust fund Jewish gay guy, and he loved Madonna, and I forget the guy's name, but he loved Madonna, and he hated anything straight. Now this is like the mid to late 90s, so that guy was still on the fringe of society. That guy would be mainstream now. That guy would be
absolutely.
Totally. He would be totally like directing music videos for Jay-Z right now and Drake. But at that time, we would laugh about him. And I remember he hated stand-up comedy. He fucking hated stand-up comedy. And I got all this from my friend Chris. I never hardly even talked to the guy. But I remember I started stand-up. And then I dropped out of college, but I was still living there, and they enlisted me in a contest at the University of Central Florida. That's where I went. And it was a comedy contest at the Student Union. And I remember this gay, Madonna-obsessed motherfucker showed up. He showed up and stood in the back of the room with his arms crossed. And just, you know, anyway, you just made it.
Some people want to have a bad time.
Yeah.
And that guy hates Plaster. I don't know what that's about, but.
Okay, so thank you for letting me recount my story. So you went through this whole thing with this, you know, Jeffrey Tambor of.
Yeah, he was just not encouraging at all. And like I ended up getting an A in the class, and he would always come up after every performance, I remember, and say what you did good and what you didn't do. And I remember one time we had to do this partner sketch, and me and my partner did this like wireless wife remote thing, and I was like yelling at him, and then he'd be like, pause, fast forward, and he was like, well, don't do that at a lesbian convention, and you're like, all right, dude, whatever. He was kind of small in so many ways and catty, and like like I said, you can put gay guys into two different groups, because I used to live with a bunch of gays in LA, and some of them love women and they love makeup and they love helping you like get ready and look pretty and like just, oh yes, do your lady thing. And then others are like, you know, they just wish we would all cease to exist. So he was in that group, and he was very warm to, especially like the more handsome men in class. Like I remember our TA was like not funny, and he was pursuing comedy at the behest of this teacher, and it was like, someone needs to tell this guy to focus on his econ classes or something, because this is not going to work. Like, he is not funny. He's handsome, I'll give you that. He's got dreamy eyes you can get lost in, but the comedy is not in the cards for Grant. So sorry, Grant.
What do you think that is about the because some attractive people, I mean, you're a beautiful woman and you obviously have tapped into your funny side. Otherwise Eddie Pepitone wouldn't be fucking with you. So I mean, I know by evidence by that. But what do you think it is, the difference between I mean, and you don't have to have an answer for this, but I'm just looking to you for, I'm just throwing the question to you for potential wisdom on this. Between the people who are able to be funny and these people like that guy who are almost just too beautiful to do that.
I think being funny, like being intelligent helps being funny a lot of the time. He was very intelligent though. Being empathetic helps a lot of the time. The difference, I would say, between my comedy back then when it was actually good and Grant was that I didn't care what people thought, and that's very freeing. And I could talk about anything and I could say anything, and some people were going to fall out of their chairs laughing and other people were going to be offended, and that's okay, because like I said, not everybody likes chocolate. But Grant like wanted to be super safe, and this happens a lot when I was in the Chicago comedy scene, and people who want to be liked by everyone end up being not liked or disliked.
When did you come onto the Chicago comedy scene? As you can see,
Yeah.
I originally hail from there, although I didn't start my career there. But I've heard really, Chicago is a very tough city. I mean, the people are fucking tough. The people who come from Chicago are nobody's fool, generally. But I've heard that the comedy scenes in Chicago are really delicate.
So delicate.
Where the fuck are those people from? Chicago?
No, of course not.
Where are they from? Who are they? What are they doing there? And can we like scare them away?
I know, seriously, they're the worst. It was really disappointing because I moved to Chicago to study at Second City and to get involved in the scene. And as soon as I got involved, I'm like, why is this such a safe space? That's not what comedy is about. But the pendulum has swung in that direction, and I think it used to be in the complete opposite, sort of anything goes direction back when comedy was good, but whatever. And now
right. Back before people had their souls fucked in the ass by their college professors.
Right, there you go.
So go on.
Yeah, and I think it's really unfortunate, and I think it's totally hurting the scene and the art there, and yeah, it's just crazy, unfortunate how safe the Chicago comedy scene is, and for that reason, you know, no one ends up, their careers don't progress. No one comes and books them for other things because they're liked in their little safe bubble where, you know, the same people are always getting the same jobs and that sort of thing. But it's hard
click,
to break
basically,
out.
is what you're saying. It's a click.
Oh yeah, it's a huge click. Yeah, and I really enjoyed getting up on stage and being just such a pain in the ass to that clique, because I don't care if you like me. So, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm Puerto Rican, and I like kissing girls, so I could say all these things. And I would just totally rag on people who, I think a lot of them are giving people in the LGBT community a bad name, and they're giving, you know, like a lot of people who are actually in those scenes don't want people who are not in those scenes pretending to be in that scene, opting into that scene, and being fucking annoying and like ruining the reputation for the people who are like, no, this is my actual life. And it was really rewarding. I would have I remember this one gay guy with a trombone for some reason. I don't know why he had a trombone in a bar.
This gay guy with a trombone is a funny statement.
So I did a bit about theys and thems and sort of opting in. There's a lot of that there. So you'll see gals who wear dresses and they wear makeup and they're at Starbucks on Saturday morning with their boyfriend who they live with, and they're like, call me they. And you're like, no, I'm not going to call you they. You can't just pretend you feel masculine when absolutely nothing about, but I feel that way. I swear I do. Well, I don't give a shit, lady. I'm not buying into your reality. And I have friends who are like, I feel like I was born in the wrong body and I want to be called they. And I'm like, 100% all day long. That's an actual plight that you're dealing with, and I can't imagine what that would feel like. But to pretend that you feel that way, and like people are like, well, you don't know what they feel like on the inside, and I'm like, I got a pretty good intuition, okay? I feel like I do, and like no one gets to decide what comes out of my mouth. So if I get it wrong every once in a while, I get it wrong, and I'm okay with that. So why the fuck should you care? I'm the one getting it wrong. So yeah, this guy comes up to me and he was like, thank you so much. You said everything that we are always thinking, and I never say it. And like, you are my favorite comedian. And I was just like, God, come here, let's hug. So it was really easy to stand out in Chicago, where everybody else was boring and safe, and I was saying all kinds of horrible, unpopular things. And it was very polarizing. And a lot of the people who were in the scene hated my guts. And a lot of the people in the audience thought I was hilarious. And that was fine.
Was there like in this scene, because this is one thing I noticed in alternative comedy. I've never been an alternative comedy. I guess that's what they used to call it. I don't even know what it's called now. But like there's a lack of, it's like there's not a full range of human emotion going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're like, I don't know, being inauthentic about their experience. And it's a lot of pandering,
But to whom? Because every scene is pandering. Like me, I mean, I'll be honest with you. As a learning comic, my wheelhouse and my pandering was sex jokes, sophomoric kind of, almost like Animal House kind of humor, growing up watching, being a straight guy, not getting laid, I would default to that as a young comic because it would get laughs. I knew how to deliver it. It was something safe. It was actually safe for me. Now it's become unsafe. That's become a controversial kind of thing to do, but it was easier for me coming up in a middle American kind of place to do that. So I'm wondering, what does the boutique liberal pander to? If you can share that with us.
Well, the thing is, when you were pandering, you were actually like expressing your reality, and you related to that, and it was true. And I think that that's where a lot of really funny comedians live. And like, this is my truth, right? And this is how I see the world.
But I was afraid to go any deeper. I'm just reflecting back to my 5 or 6 years, doing comedy. I was afraid to go any deeper and say anything and with any more meaning. I'm just wondering what in the Chicago comedy scene, they're pandering. What's their, give us a garden variety kind of pandering of the, the delicate.
It's all shitting on straight white guys. That's like 90% of the jokes that you hear.
Are the straight white guys ashamed to be straight white guys?
Oh, and they just talk about it the whole time. And like, I'm straight and white, so I'm a piece of shit. And like, it's like, no, you're not. Like, stop
You're lying.
Yeah. Well, I've met you, and you're actually nice, and like, you need some self-esteem help. I don't know. It's really unfortunate, and it reminds me. So when I first started doing comedy, being gay was a lot, or bi, or part of that community. Like, I felt like they needed a Lorax So a lot of my comedy back then was sort of sticking up for equal opportunity, equal rights, and that sort of thing for that community, because they were still disenfranchised and unpopular, and it was, they were getting picked on by other people. So I always feel like I got to stick up for the little guy. And like the Chicago comedy scene has turned the straight white man into the little guy. And now I got to stick up for straight white guys, which I didn't want to do.
That's the dumbing down to the left to make me the guy who basically, the straight white guy, a controversial figure. I mean, you're turning me into a controversial figure. Do you not, like, do they not see the irony of that?
I don't think they do. I really don't think that they have the capacity for self-reflection to realize that it's not okay to bully anyone, including people. Like, that's what feminism used to be about. You know, it was like an egalitarian thing. Let us all have equal opportunity to live and let live. And like, you do whatever you want to do. Don't hurt anybody. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I won't hurt anyone. And now it's like, no, but housewives are gross. Ugh. And it's like, no, that's what some people want to do. They just want to like wear yoga pants and marry a rich guy and push a stroller around, and that's okay. Like, not everyone has to be like, I'm a girl boss, blah. That's, you know, and some people want to do that, and that's cool too. And some people can't help that they were born straight, white, and male. And that's not a reason to judge a person. Like,
where I think that the disconnect comes is in the sort of, and I use the boutique liberal was Chris Hedges. I just steal that term from him. The boutique liberal or the art gallery gift shop liberal. I have different ways of describing these people. They are very, very susceptible to shaming each other. There's a shame thing going on, but what they don't understand is that doesn't work on straight. No straight guy is ashamed. No straight guy is ashamed of liking sex and wanting to get laid and being straight.
Right.
Straight guys are not, real straight guys are not, we are impervious to that, you know, so.
Well, good, as you should be.
But it's funny that they think this is like a battle tactic. They think this is some kind of, you know, you can socially engineer, I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
It's an ironic lack of acceptance on their part, and it's really discouraging to be around. It's unfortunate because I do think that people are, you know, everyone is this little bundle of infinite potential, and we should all be sort of assessed on the content of our character and not the color of our skin or what may or may not be between our legs. Or any of those things are incidental to, you know, what do you do? And I'm not asking about your job, but like, what do you do in those moments of dilemma? Who are you in those character revealing moments? That's what's interesting. And are you just going to pick on straight white guys because you can? Because then you're just a fucking bully lady. Like,
well, you know, there is a power dynamic going on in all of humanity and human interaction, and stand-up comedy generally was a way anyway in the 70s and 80s for sort of people who had to fight their way out of someplace to kind of take power back from, even though I don't think it was consciously being done because of this, it was a totally unconscious thing, but it was a way for people who couldn't get sex or money or acceptance or whatever, you know, whether it was Sandra Bernhard or Richard Pryor or George Carlin or whoever you happen to be born into the world as, to steal power from people who could get things easily. Whether it was consciously being done because of that or not, or maybe it's just my analysis in retrospect. So there's always that power dynamic going on, but it's funny that it was straight men who dominated that. And I always make the joke that we straight guys gravitated toward that because it was our only way to get laid, was to be funny.
Or play music.
Well, that definitely. If I had musical ability, that was a much easier way to play. You could play a guitar in a room in a party for 4 people and get laid. So crying your soul out with a shoehorn and stand up is. But yeah, so there was a power dynamic going on. So I see sort of. I don't know if this is conscious, but I do see the the sort of gay or bi or whatever you want to call them, boutique liberal section of comedy as saying, we're going to take this power back from those straight guys who dominated this. You know, we're going to get this. This is going to be ours, you know?
Well, that's an unfortunate case of like a fixed, what do they call, like a zero sum thing, right? Like there's only so much of a pie and we want all of it. And it's like, no, make another pie. Everybody can have their place and that's okay. And we can all just eat pie and that's fine. Like if we just think creatively, there's space for everyone. And like what makes you laugh is going to be the same as what makes me laugh. And that's not only okay, that's great. That's diversity, that's evolution.
And there's no better metaphor for sexuality than eating pie. Eating pie is a perfect way. Thank you, Yvette. Because if I said the eating pie thing, it could be misconstrued. It could be misconstrued as what I really meant. But you, it's much harder to make something of your own, you know, and carve something out of your own. It's much more difficult to do. And comedy is a fucking hard thing to do. So I could see the temptation of being tempted, and I'm just going to join this clique. I'm just going to be part of this clique, and that's going to be my world. And I'm going to be the guy who comment boards on Dave Chappelle being inappropriate. And I'll be in my clique.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy so fucking hard. I met one of those.
Or write an article. You know, articles get published, you know, trying to like shame Bill Burr or anyway.
Yeah, well, some people just want to have a bad time, and I hope they do.
Yeah. Well, I hope that we get to see more of you and we get to hear more of you. And real quickly, share with us what you're working on right now.
So I pick up tomato gardening, but other than that, my garden looks great. The tomatoes are lovely. I've got I pick up gardening in coronavirus times, and then my book, which again is just like all of my friends, you know, about 6 weeks into coronavirus time, were just losing it. And they're like, oh my God, I haven't been to the gym. And it's like, I haven't been able to go to the gym in forever. Like, what? And then I just started to realize, like, oh, I remember what that was like when my freedom got taken away and my life got narrowed down. And well, what's the bridge between then and now? And just sort of thinking about all of these good habits that keep me not just like sane, you know, everyone's just trying to stay sane. And I'm like, oh, that's a bummer because I'm like elated over here. And how can I help other people figure out how to do that for themselves and with themselves? Because it's really, you know, one of those things where it's hard to find happiness within yourself, but that's also the only place you're going to find it. So.
Beautiful. Well, that's the book you're working on. And then anything else, or is that your main thing right now?
That's my main thing. I've been writing some sketches, but because of coronavirus, I haven't really been shooting them. So as soon as I'm less scared of interacting with other human beings, I'll hopefully start shooting them if we ever get on the other side of this pandemic. Otherwise, I'll just keep writing a lot of sketches. We'll see.
What is your, share all your social media platforms with us so my 25 devoted watchers can go follow you all across social media?
I really only Instagram.
Okay.
And so my Instagram is the hottest nerd.
The hottest nerd, that's right. I follow her.
If you can think of a better name, please tell me. I want to change it, but every time I'm like, hey, Instagram, should I change this? The internet's like, no. So
nerd has kind of lost its meaning.
I mean, all of it. It was just kind of like a placeholder, but it's done so well. Like, I've been able to talk to lots of celebrities with it. So I feel like until I can come up with something that is as
do what works,
catchy,
man. Do what works.
Yeah. I've had a lot of fun conversations with a bunch of like heroes of mine. Eddie started following me before I even met him. It's a catchy name.
There we go.
Let's talk to Shazam. Neil Brennan, what's his name? D. Ray Davis, who I like D. Ray Davis a lot. I don't know if you've seen his How to Act Black. I thought that was hilarious. You didn't like it?
I haven't seen that, but I know
How to Act Black.
I mean, I know his work, and he hosted for many years. He hosted. I think he might still be the host when comedy comes back of Black Monday at the Improv. I call it Black Monday.
I think he is.
Black Monday at the Improv. I never promote the Improv because I hate the club so much. And I say that knowing they could put me on at some point in that club. But it's not called Black Monday, but it's anyway, I'm pretty sure. But he's good. Yeah, he's good. He's very good.
Watch How to Act Black. I thought it was very funny.
Okay, I will watch it. Amazon, Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix.
D. Ray Davis got a shout out on my podcast, so D. Ray.
You're welcome, D. Ray.
Yeah, got a shout out for your special on my podcast, and that's so great. I so much appreciate you coming on and last minute and being my guest and lending some beauty and wisdom and philosophy. And,
absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, so No Idea Zone. What am I working on? Do I have anything to promote? I do have possibly will be headlining Zoom comedy shows coming up. There's one at the end of the month, so look out for the 29th, I think, like a Saturday afternoon or evening.
Oh, cool.
Produced on the East Coast, and there's more details to come. So this probably will come out before that that show. So check me out there. And there's some other things going on, but we got to keep it hush-hush. But we will stay in touch, Yvette. This is a great reminder to me to stay in touch with you. You're lovely. And so thank you so much for being my guest. And from the No Idea Zone, we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, thanks again. Take care.
Bye.